Have you ever witnessed a franchise completely tear down everything they've built just to chase a dream that's been slipping through their fingers for over half a century? The air in Toronto feels different these days. There's an electricity crackling through the corridors of Scotiabank Arena, a tension so thick you could cut it with a skate blade. 3 seismic events have just erupted in the hockey world, and every single one of them threatens to reshape the very DNA of the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're not talking about minor roster tweaks or depth signings here. These are franchise-altering moves that will either launch Toronto into championship glory or send them spiraling into chaos. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about this team's direction. The third story alone will make you question whether Brad Treliving has lost his mind or discovered the secret formula that's eluded Toronto for decades. Picture this: the brightest lights in Las Vegas reflecting off a golden jersey bearing a name that Toronto fans know by heart, Mitch Marner. Now close your eyes and imagine Scotiabank Arena, where the seat next to Auston Matthews sits empty, a ghost of what once was the most electrifying partnership in recent Leafs history. After months of speculation, contract disputes, and behind-the-scenes drama, the inevitable finally occurred. Marner has signed an 8-year, $96 million extension with the Vegas Golden Knights, officially ending one of the most iconic duos of the past decade. The trade that sent him west wasn't just a roster move. It was the death of an era, the final acknowledgement that talent alone couldn't deliver what Toronto desperately craved. When asked about losing his line mate, Auston Matthews' response was telling: "We'll miss him. He's a great friend, a great teammate, but it's the business side of things. It's tough, but I wish him nothing but the best. We'll move forward." Those words carry the weight of 9 playoff appearances, countless regular season highlights, and the bitter taste of championship dreams that never materialized. But here's what makes this move so fascinating. Toronto isn't just moving on, they're betting everything on internal growth. Matthew Knies, just 22 years old, exploded for 58 points last season with 29 goals and 29 assists. The kid isn't a prospect anymore, he's the real deal. And now, he'll have to be much more than that. He'll have to be a star, because Toronto won't wait. They'll demand it. The psychological impact extends beyond the ice. Marner represented hope, the bridge between Toronto's dark years and their current competitive window. His departure signals that management has abandoned the "this group can still win" mentality in favor of "we need to change everything." It's a brutal but potentially necessary reality check. Matthews has already embraced the transition, expressing excitement about the team's new direction. But the question haunting every Leafs fan remains: was this the right call? Will Marner's absence create space for a stronger, more resilient team, or will Toronto look back and realize they let go of a generational talent who could have been the missing piece? Now comes the second shockwave, and this one cuts straight to the heart of Toronto's identity. Morgan Rielly, the steady presence on the blue line, the face of the franchise's defensive core for over a decade, has become the centerpiece of trade discussions that could fundamentally alter the Leaf structure. An explosive report from Heavy.com has put Toronto at the center of a stunning trade proposal: Morgan Rielly, Nick Robertson, and a 2027 fourth-round pick to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for Philip Chytil. Yes, you read that correctly. One of the most beloved defensemen in recent Leafs history could be heading home to Vancouver. This isn't just roster management, it's cultural demolition. Rielly has been the constant through Toronto's darkest periods and their most promising seasons. He's the player who held the team together when others crumbled, the veteran presence who provided stability when chaos reigned. Trading him represents more than tactical adjustment. It's a declaration that no one is safe in Toronto's championship pursuit. Philip Chytil brings intriguing possibilities. The versatile forward can play center or wing and would immediately slot into Toronto's top 6. He's in the third year of a 4-year, $17.75 million contract, and when healthy, provides consistent offensive production. Last season's 13 goals and 13 assists in 56 games might seem modest, but they came despite injury concerns that have plagued his career. Here's the critical gamble. Toronto would be betting that Chittle's injury history is behind him while sacrificing Rielly's proven durability and leadership. The defenseman posted 41 points last season and remains one of the NHL's most reliable power play quarterbacks. His no-movement clause means any trade requires his approval, but his Vancouver roots could provide the emotional hook needed to convince him. Insider Nick Kyprios has already suggested that Rielly was a legitimate trade candidate, with GM Brad Treliving determined to shake up the core and rebalance the roster. The blue line is strong, the need is up front, and that logic drives potentially bold moves. But fan reaction tells a different story. Trading Rielly isn't just a hockey decision, it's an emotional earthquake that would rock the locker room and fan base alike. Is Toronto prepared for that cultural shock? Are they willing to sacrifice franchise stability for the promise of offensive improvement? Here's where things get absolutely insane, and why the third story will leave you questioning everything about Toronto's strategy. Forget complex multi-piece trades or draft pick packages. This rumor is elegantly simple and devastatingly bold. Adrien Kempe for Morgan Rielly, straight up. 1-for-1. A franchise defenseman for an elite goal scorer. Adrien Kempe represents everything Toronto has been missing. The 28-year-old winger brings size, 6 feet 2 inches, 200 pounds, speed, and most importantly, consistent goal-scoring punch. Last season's 35 goals and 73 points weren't a fluke. Over the past 4 years, Kempe has scored 35, 41, 28, and 35 goals respectively. That's the kind of reliability that turns good teams into championship contenders. Imagine Kempe alongside Auston Matthews. The combination of Matthews' elite playmaking and Kempe's finishing ability could create the most dangerous duo in the Eastern Conference. While other teams struggle to find secondary scoring, Toronto would boast 2 legitimate 40-goal threats on the same line. From Los Angeles' perspective, the trade makes perfect sense. The Kings had the 6th worst power play in the NHL last season, struggling to generate offense with the man advantage despite possessing significant talent. Rielly would provide an instant solution, a proven power play quarterback who reads the game at an elite level and brings offensive fluidity from the blue line. But here's where the complexity explodes. Kempe is in the final year of a $5.5 million deal and reportedly seeking around $10 million annually on his next contract. Toronto would be acquiring a player without extension certainty, gambling that they can either re-sign him or maximize his impact during his walk year. The obstacles are mountainous. Rielly's no-movement clause requires his approval for any trade. Would he agree to leave Toronto, the city where he built his career, for Los Angeles? And would Toronto be willing to part with their most iconic defenseman for a winger who might demand massive money next summer? Yet the upside is intoxicating. Kempe isn't just any goal scorer. He's a proven performer in his prime with playoff experience. He represents exactly what Matthews needs beside him and what Toronto has been desperately seeking for years. These 3 stories aren't isolated incidents. They're interconnected pieces of a master plan that will either validate Brad Treliving's vision or expose it as organizational madness. Trading Marner, moving Rielly, and potentially acquiring impact forwards like Chittle or Kempe represents the most dramatic roster overhaul in recent Leaf history. The psychology behind these moves reveals everything about Toronto's current mindset. Management has abandoned incremental improvement in favor of wholesale change. They're betting that chemistry and familiarity have become liabilities rather than assets, that breaking up beloved partnerships will create space for new magic to emerge. But championship teams are typically built on continuity, veteran leadership, and proven playoff performers. Toronto is gambling that talent and hunger can overcome experience and stability. It's the kind of high-stakes poker that either delivers ultimate glory or devastating failure. The timeline adds pressure to every decision. Matthews is entering his prime, the core supporting cast is aging, and Toronto's championship window won't remain open indefinitely. These moves represent the organization's acknowledgement that time is running out on their current opportunity. As these 3 bombshells continue reverberating through the hockey world, one fundamental question emerges. Has Toronto finally found the courage to make the moves necessary for championship success, or are they destroying the foundation that made them competitive in the first place? The answer won't be known for months, maybe years. But one thing is certain, the Toronto Maple Leafs you thought you knew no longer exist. In their place stands a franchise willing to risk everything in pursuit of the one prize that has eluded them for over half a century. So here's what I need to know from you. Which of these three moves shocks you the most? Are you ready to see Toronto tear down everything they've built? Or should they have stayed the course with their core group? This is the kind of debate that defines fan bases. So drop your hottest takes in the comments below and smash that like button if these stories have your head spinning as much as ours. The Leafs are rewriting their entire story, and we want you along for every twist and turn.